Mr. Minnick in double speed, helping students with if statement worksheet 5, Intro to Computer Science, Python. Please read directions on your own time. You should always read directions. And if right now you're watching this on the internet and you didn't see missing colon or, there it is. Now back to the worksheet. So age is equal to 6. And I think students should always keep track of their variables here in the scratch paper area. You don't have to on this worksheet according to directions, but it's just good style. So there, that 6 got plugged into. Oh, notice a single equal symbol when you're assigning a value to a variable. Not to be confused with nowhere in this worksheet do I use it, but sometimes in an if statement, you'll see a double equals in this situation right here. It sometimes comes up. Maybe you'll see in a future video that explained better. Anyway, back to this exercise number 1. So now that we're looking at the line of code that says if, we plug this 6 in for age, and then we ask ourselves, as if the computer asks itself, is 6 true or false, greater than or equal to 10? Well, that's a true. So like it says in the directions, give me some love here, show me some scratch work. I want to see that you really understand what you're doing. You're not just copying this off of somebody else. And then because of that true, the way all computer languages like Python work, when the control expression in an if statement is true, you do actually execute whatever's indented right below it. So that would print on the screen, just trust me. And then you're supposed to know, well, at least now paying attention to this video, that when something's true at the top of an if, elif, else, it trickles down, but as soon as there's a true, it skips, it ignores the rest of it. None of these prints will print because none of this even is executing. Now that's kind of confusing to some people because when they look at this and they just kind of hop around, they know that 6 is greater than 2, and because that's true in a sense, you would think that that would print, but that's so wrong. To consider a 6-year-old only a preschooler when a 6-year-old is at least in kindergarten, if not first grade. No first grader wants to be said, oh, you're only in preschool, even though they went through and graduated preschool. So this is kind of awkward to understand how if statements work until you just get the whole trickle-down nature of an if, elif. So final answer should have been, I'm sorry. That should have been false. I was wrong there on my own worksheet. To review, that was a false. So that got skipped. That was a true, and that got circled. And then this is skipped over or not even evaluated. So that's the final answer to that exercise. Number 2, age is 2. Now age is a separate variable in this exercise, not to be confused with the also named age there. I don't like people to consider exercises to be like run-ons. So this is sort of like a separate age. Anyway, plug the 2 in, that's false. So this gets lined out. We trickle down now, exciting stuff. We trickle down to here, plug the 2 in for age. 2, greater than or equal to 5. That's a false. So we skip and ignore print elementary. We plug the 2 in here. Now let's be strict and careful about it. 2, greater than 2. That's false. If it were a greater than or equal to symbol in there, but it's not. If it were, say, Mrs. Vargo in a math class writing it that way, but it's not, you can't do that anyway in code because there is no key on the keyboard that does that. Bye-bye. Nope, this was false, so we skip that. And when you get to an else, if you ever reach the else, you always execute whatever's in the else. It's the way it is. Up here, we never reached the else, so it never saw the light of day. The word infant didn't print. Here, we are reaching it because of, look, F above. So that is what gets circled on exercise 2. It's not required for there to be an else. Like a caboose isn't required at the end of a long train. But if it is, it's something that executes no matter what. Okay, moving on then to number 3. What circles and what should happen in number 3? Well, I plug age 11 into age, and I trickle down. I trickle down here from this spot right here. That's a true. Bingo, I have a winner. 11 greater than or equal to 10. So this prints. Because Python is an interpreted language and not compiled like Java, you don't really have to know this, but I'm telling you anyway, it will do that much, and it will skip this, and it will skip the else because that true did get circled there, and all of that gets circled, lined out just like we learned up here. But it will then try to execute this code from here down, as if it were like a turtle moving around the screen or something. And it is illegal to start an if statement with elif. You can't write elif all by itself in code. It gives you, it's called a syntax error officially. It's just illegal. It'd be like typing the word import, spelling it wrong, and typing it port. It's just wrong. You can't do it. So according to directions, I did want you to write compile error. And really, technically, in this course, it's called a syntax error, but I'll allow you to write either syntax or the word compile. So if you wrote compile error, that's fine. And maybe you should have explained that you can't start with an elif down here all by itself. I probably didn't take points off if you circle that anyway, because technically it does print, but then it bombs and the rest of the app doesn't work. So people are going to want their money back from this glitchy software. This problem is a hard problem to do. Number 4, don't say logic error, I'm sorry, in number 3, because it's not really a logic error. We'll talk about logic errors next. Age is 7 here in exercise 4, not to be confused with exercise 3. Let me put a line here so you know. 7, that's false. So this does not see the light of day. Oh, interesting. I notice this stuff because I'm a good coder. I'm a good software developer. I spot things that some people don't see. So I get paid more money and I have better job security. And my car works better because when I have a driverless car somewhere, I can probably fix it. Look, that is not elif. Interesting, interesting. So really, this if statement, even though it was false up there, it's separate from this if statement, and that's separate from this if-else statement, where the else does bind and combine with that if. So these are 3 separate statements, whereas in computer science, all of this, well, this was considered a statement, and this was just bogus. That's an error. Up here, this whole thing was considered one legal statement. It had parts to it, like statements within a statement, like a compound sentence maybe, or like a paragraph. Can be more than one sentence, but sometimes it is just one sentence. So here we have 3 separate paragraphs, if you will, or actually 3 separate statements. That was false, so that didn't happen. This is true. 7 is greater than or equal to 5. So this does print, and it should be circled according to this worksheet. And this separately, because it's a separate if, the 7 is indeed greater than 2, and this does print. Now this is certainly ignored because it's the else that's part of that if. So let me clean this up and show you the right final answer here. In this exercise, that should have been lined out. Maybe a T should have been put there and that's circled. A separate T should have been put there and that should have been circled, and that should have been lined out. And I probably would like, for full credit, the word logic error explained here, because the coder probably didn't want to insult a 7-year-old and give the 7-year-old reason to think that he or she is still considered a preschooler at the same time as an elementaryr. Now, you'd really have to ask the person in charge of who hired you to write this code, but it's probably a logic error. Have a great day. There are the answers to that worksheet in my website at minnick.com, or logged in via Schoology to find it.